I just sent Tyler a we are starting message, so give him a second here to push whatever buttons he needs to.
Okay.
And then we can get going.
Oh no.
So
why don't we go ahead and start? We'll just call the meeting to order. I doubt we have any public.
Hang on, Rob is coming in right now.
Is he?
And so is Steve. Okay, now the gang's starting to show up.
Yeah.
I think I pressed the wrong link and went to the foundation meeting for tomorrow because after waiting 3 or 4 minutes, I went back to the email. There were so many emails. What's a poor, confused old septuagenarian to do? I guess just keep trying.
That's right.
Okay, now we have peeps here.
Yeah, Steve, you must have your video canceled, and that's okay. If you don't want us to see you, we're fine with that.
All right. I took a shower.
Good.
Well, that's good.
Oh, hey, you look great. Yeah.
Just remember, we recorded, so you may not want to go into any more details.
Yeah.
Oh,
You've never looked better.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Okay. All right.
I like your hair, Christina.
Thank you.
Kathy already gave her a compliment on that, Steve. So that's true. She's never changing now. Her hair's gonna be like that till the day she dies. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and start. We don't have any other public, and so we won't do any public comments. We can look at the minutes and circulation report and see if anybody's got any comments at all about either one of them. So that's kind of the, where we have the split up. Page 2 is kind of the summary, and then 3 and 4 are the minutes, and 5 is kind of the more circulation and book numbers. So anybody have any thoughts at all?
Well, you will notice we do actually have a gate count again. Now that we have 2 browsing days a week, we're actually going to have some people through the gate. So
when did that?
Just 30?
30. I think we only had, let's see, at this point in time in June, we only had 2. Wait, let me think here. Yeah, 2 days of it. So, but we're averaging about 30 people. Well, let's see. The last one on the 14th was 39 people. So numbers are definitely going up on browsing days.
And that's 3 to 5, right?
Correct. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, yes.
And how many people do we let in at a time?
10.
Okay. So that's about 4 times the number we let in at a time. And the hope is they only spend about 30 minutes, right?
Right. Most of them are pretty good about just in, grab their stuff, and out. So.
Okay. All right. Anything else about any of those? I mean, the program attendance of 436 is pretty good, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I mean, it's, some of them are very hard to measure, like some of the Facebook Live and stuff. But I mean, we're getting people not only attending at the time, but going back after they're finished and viewing it on their own, at their own leisure. So.
Okay. Anything else that anybody sees or has a question about? Kathy, this is your big chance since you actually can talk with us now.
Nah.
Okay.
She gets the power of speech.
One thing that I noticed in the minutes from last time, it's not a correction or anything, but I know there was the question about whether or not the World newspaper could be online for the library. And I know the answer was our contract doesn't allow that. But the World newspaper has changed their whole delivery system so much now, where they're down to just, 2 paper copies. I think Tuesday and Saturday now. And they're going to start mailing those too, if you read it in the most recent issue of the paper. So I'm wondering if that's still, I mean, and when I read some of that stuff, I mean, I've gotten the electronic and the paper version forever, but I'm wondering now, because there's so many fewer paper ones, and whether they would let us have an electronic version at all. I know what they're probably concerned about. People would get on and read the electronic version and they wouldn't have a subscription. When it's one paper in the library, it's a little bit harder for people to do that, but it would be interesting. If my computer tips over, it's because Maisie the cat has decided to join us. So my wife had her in the other room with a heating pad, and then she was fine. She thought that was great, but now she's decided to come join me.
Well, that makes a quorum, right?
Yeah, right. So anyway, so I just mentioned that.
Yeah, I can ask him, but I'm not holding my breath on it.
Okay. Because I noticed that the Tuesday and Saturday editions, for example, have a lot of the same repeat stories from the other days. And I'm sure they do that because not everybody's seeing the electronic version of that day. So the electronic version and the paper version both repeat those stories on Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
So, and they put all the funnies on one day, which just confuses me. Anything else that anybody wants to talk about? Any of those things on the circulation report or the other stuff? I know. Thanks to Kathy, we put in for that library services grant. What's the decision date for that? What date do they make a decision?
We were told August, but no specific date in August, just August. So
Okay.
I'm hoping it's August 1st because they want, if you receive it, you're supposed to start your project on September 1st. So it'd really be nice if it was August 1st we knew, so that we'd have some time anyway to get our act together. So.
Okay. All right. We don't have a treasurer's report, folks. For those of you that came in a little bit later, it's because it's the end of the fiscal year, and the city has had so much stuff going on all at once, and I'm sure partly because of COVID-19 too, that they haven't been able to get that report out. So we'll get it at our next meeting and take a look at it and see how we did for the year. Okay. Did we get any correspondence, Sammy?
No, other than an occasional thank you note through the book drop type thing. So.
All right. Well, hey, that's right to Librarians Report. So now you've got an hour to fill.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot beyond what is written there to discuss. One thing, and I was going to save it for announcements, but we'll talk about it now. Why not? We're contemplating doing some pickup points in East Side and in Empire, probably using the fire stations sort of as our base, and just having, instead of, since we only have pickup, 3 days a week at specific times, we were going to expand and maybe have a Friday pickup in each of those spots, pick up and drop off people who can't make it during those other times, and it's more convenient to be closer to their homes. So we're looking into maybe doing that in August. They'd be able to put their holds and make Empire Fire Station a location to pick up instead of the library or East Side Fire Station. So
is the hold system allow you for them to designate where they want to pick it up?
I can put in a new location for it, and they would be able to choose that as one of the locations. So.
Okay. And staffing wise, that would work? It wouldn't be a problem for you?
No, because we would limit it to basically we would be at each spot about 40 minutes. So give people time to be, get there, but not linger for hours type thing. So we would have enough staff to do that 1 day a week.
And we could use the library cop car.
Yes, we can. We got to get her out on the road.
Every time I see that sitting there, I think of the Blues Brothers. I don't know why.
We're on a mission from the library, right?
Yeah, so, I don't know. If you have to go back and visit the nun, we're in trouble.
I was going to say, if you see a bunch of nuns flying out of the back, So, But that's
Okay.
something we kind of coordinated or talked about coordinated today and starting that in August, just to give people a little more opportunity to partake in our stuff. So.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Actually,
I think
I
it's
have-
good.
Kurt, I have a question. This
Sure.
is Rob. Is the mailing still pretty busy?
It's definitely dropped off once we started curbside back up again. But we're still mailing, and it fluctuates from week to week too.
There's Bob.
So, but it's definitely dropped off. We're maybe doing, I don't even know, like 30 packages a day instead of, 100 and some. So, but there's still people who definitely want it mailed.
Are you going to continue that for quite some time?
Yeah, we plan on continuing to offer that as an option because there's some people who either try to limit their coming into town type thing, or they just don't want to leave their home, and that's fine.
And financially, we're okay with that?
Yes, because we were using the money we use for security, and we only have security here. What do we got? 4 days? No, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, 4 days a week instead of 6. So those extra 2 days we aren't using them. Plus they're shorter hours, so it's balancing itself out.
Thank you.
Kathy had told me, and she could speak to this instead of just me, but she had emailed me or told me, I can't remember which right now, how the mail-in service was really a good one for some of those people that live really in rural areas, way up the river somewhere. They're still inside our service area, but find it difficult to get in, and so they were able to get material. So I think it's still fine. As long as we can afford it, it's probably a fine idea. We sometimes lose sight the purpose of the library is to serve the public. So anything that we can do to provide more service to the public is probably a good thing.
No, I agree. It's a great service.
But I think also, especially, there's people who, if they choose not to or can't wear a mask to come in, we do have 2 other options for them. Then we've got the mailing or the curbside. So we're trying to just make everything as accessible as possible, which is another reason we're plotting to be able to go to those 2 other sites to drop off and pick up. So,
Kurt, I wanted to say that just looking at the Librarians Report, wow, you guys have been so busy and so creative, and I am so impressed with how you've continued to reach out to our patrons this way. So good job, all.
well, thank you. Yeah, the staff has really, they've really stepped up, and they have been so creative and just really they're just thinking outside the box. However to solve the problem of serving the patrons. They've been really good about it. It's been very impressive.
Yeah. That's librarians for you.
We're a craft lot.
And the STEAM kits that we mail out, I saw that. That was 359 kits were mailed. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's still ongoing?
That's really taken off. They were doing them every single week, but we've been getting busier with other things, so they're scaling back to, I think, every other week doing them. But they're still doing things like the Flannel Fridays and some other things plus we're in the middle of summer reading too, so we've got other things going on for them too, but we're still supplying those kits for them. So.
Okay. Other questions for the Librarians Report? I got a couple still. I know the Red Cross is still using the room for their blood drive, which is a nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who cleans up after them?
They clean up and sanitize everything, and then our janitorial staff also comes in that night and sanitizes everything again, and then either puts the tables away if they need to be put away, or whatever, and then they mop the floor and do that kind of thing. So,
is it any extra expense to us because of that?
No,
Okay.
no.
There better not be. That old janitorial money.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
This is why Kathy got sound tonight, right there.
Yeah. And then I noticed the RFID tagging now. You said continues, and we're getting the new gates and the self-checkout stations have arrived and should be installed soon. When's the soon, kind of? And then the other second part of that question is there some kind of like switchover? Because they've all got I'm assuming they still all have barcodes on them too?
Right. They all will still have the barcodes. And then the only difference will be is the self-checkouts will work a little bit different. Instead of having to put each book through it individually, you can take a stack of books and set it on this pad, and it will check all of them out at once instead of the one at a time thing. That's how the self-checkouts will work. And so those won't be set up probably for a few more weeks until we get further into the tagging, because if people try to use them with untagged items, they won't work. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, probably until you get everything tagged, there probably isn't much.
Right.
As long as the barcodes are still there.
Yeah, the barcodes are still there, so they can still be manually scanned. I mean, one at a time, maybe.
We talked a little bit about the browsing, walking in stuff. Since we have the new requirements for masks inside public spaces, people generally complying. Have it caused us any problems?
Up to this point, I don't think we've had any. We had one problem, but that solved itself in a different way. But no, for the most part, everybody's been really good about it. We do also offer face shields in case somebody doesn't want a mask. They can wear one of those, which is a little less restrictive for some people. So we have that option for them.
They leave the face shields behind, I take it?
They do, and then we Lysol the heck out of them, leave them sit for a while, several days before they're reused.
Okay. Is it the guard's duty is the guard kind of at the front door checking that of the number of people that come in? Right.
He tracks not only how many people are in the building at a time so that we don't exceed the 10, but he also gives them the rundown on the masks and things like that.
And are you able to keep them out of the book stacks in that center area where you wanted to, or are they going farther?
We have lots of chair barriers. So.
Okay. All right.
And thank you for providing a chair to sit down in for disabled folks.
Not a problem. Yep. But anything that's behind the barriers, staff is, happy to go grab for anybody that needs it.
That's a good point, too. I hadn't thought about that, Bob, that we do have some people that standing for a while would be difficult. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point. I have one story to tell since we're talking about Librarians Report. Kathy's right. You guys are doing a wonderful job, and there's all those programs and all that stuff that's going on. I had a dentist appointment this week, or last week, I guess, excuse me. And it was the same day that we had our steering committee meeting. And of course I went in and I had my mask on and I got my temperature taken and I had to wash my hands. I had a crown on the molar that had worn a hole, so I was getting a new crown. Great fun. Anyways, so the medical technician is taking me back there, and of course they always want to make small talk, and she said, well, what's your plans for the rest of the day? And I said, well, I've got a virtual meeting this afternoon, the steering committee meeting. She says, oh, work? And I said, oh, no, I'm retired. And I said, it's a steering committee for the city. And then she said, are you on the city council, Rob? and I said, thankfully, no. I said, no, it's a steering committee for the library and for citing the new library. Okay, so here's where my story gets interesting. No idea that we needed a new library. No idea that the foundation was failing. No idea that there's cracks in the walls. No idea that the roof leaks a lot. Okay. So I kind of explained to her what's going on. And then she says, well, is the library open? And I know you guys have been running ads. We've been doing stuff. I said, well, yeah, we've been mailing out stuff. We have curbside. And now they've started browsing stuff too. You can come in and you can, come into the library for a little bit and get some things. Didn't have a clue. This person's probably in her mid-20s. And as Paul Harvey says, the rest of the story, the reason she asked me whether or not the library was open is because up until the closure, she'd been taking her kid to every story time in the world. So even somebody who used the library a lot wasn't aware about the programs that are available online or what's going on with the building. And so it really struck me again about what a big job we have to do to educate people about what's going on with the library, even for library users. So
Yep.
I did tell her all about Storytime Online.
Good.
And the people did that and did it, so she was going to try to take advantage of it. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's an uphill battle.
that's my story. So it makes me think when I start thinking about doing things for a bond measure about what a big task it really still is, because people just aren't aware, unfortunately.
Have to flood the airwaves with repeated messages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess what people listen to, I don't know. We may have to start broadcasting on the Marshfield radio station.
Mm-hmm.
Marshfield High School. Hey, I'm not kidding. A lot of people
No.
listen to that.
We've talked about that.
So, Marie isn't able to talk to us, and probably although the friends are probably doing some things, there probably isn't much of a report to tell us since they haven't been having any sales.
Oh, but they have.
Oh, okay.
We
Is that the current one?
Yeah, we had an experimental drive-through book sale. When was that? Last Friday, right?
Friday. Yeah.
Friday. And we got rid of probably not quite half of what we had bagged and boxed up. But considering it was an experiment, we didn't do a great job of advertising it. But we made $321 in 2 hours. So I thought that was pretty good. And we got rid of stuff. So we are doing another one on August 1st, a Saturday. We thought maybe we would have more response. Although we did have traffic backed up out onto Anderson when it first started. We were pretty proud of ourselves for that. And then it came in bursts and spurts after that. But yeah, we got rid of quite a bit. It was nice.
Cool. That's good. All right. Foundation report. Well, who wants to give that?
We have a meeting tomorrow.
Well, we've actually had a meeting since our last board meeting too. Mm-hmm. So Steve or Bob or Steve, or
I
both
was not able to attend that meeting, so you have to.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, Bob. Steve, how about you? Did you attend that meeting?
I did. And I guess basically the big takeaway is that we, sorry about the background noise. I live on a busy street. The main takeaway is that we had a discussion about the fall fundraiser in person. And I think there was a consensus that we just didn't see doing that this year. And that what we are going to do is focus on ways that we might be able to raise funds, either online events or maybe other ways. I believe the meeting tomorrow is going to begin the work of talking further in more detail about it. But that was the main takeaway for me. I don't know if I forgot anything other than that, but you would know. You were there, Kurt.
Yeah, I think you basically got it. I think one of the ideas that came out of that, since we didn't do our spring spelling bee, and we're not going to do a fall library after dark, which are really our two big fundraisers, was to do, I think it was Susan Anderson's idea, to do a non-event event. And we may kick that around a little bit. We may print up tickets and send them out to people, and they can buy a ticket to the non-event. But we may have some kind of raffle that goes with buying those tickets too. So, and Carol Vention has actually sent Sammy and I some things about online charitable giving, and I apologize. I didn't realize it was just a Sammy and me until today, and so I'm going to send those out today to the rest of the people on the foundation, so they have a chance to look at it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So, okay. Well, there's a big blank space under old business. So I
Can
guess
I ask at this point, was there a treasurer's report handed out today?
No, it's as soon as I get that, I can email it out to everybody and then we can discuss it at the next one. But it's end of year, and so I think that's why there's the delay in it.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So new business, steering committee update. So Bob, you didn't get to talk about the foundation. You could talk about the steering committee.
No, I'd rather let you do that.
Well, Rob could talk about it, or I don't know. I'll talk about it because I've had thoughts about that since then. The steering committee meeting was basically a presentation by PacWest, which is a lobbying group that the city has hired to kind of keep tabs on the state government for the city and what's available. And they gave a presentation about, what maybe some things to consider for what date to actually put a bond measure out. And partly because they presented the idea that there may be some stimulus funding from the state for capital projects. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the slowing of the economy, and particularly in rural areas, that the state might be willing to fund some capital projects to kind of inject some money in these rural communities. And their presentation basically covered that. And there was some discussion then about, how does that affect the May ballot for a bond measure, and whether we still should consider that date or whether we should consider a later date the following November. So there was a bit of a discussion about that. The steering committee is going to have another meeting here, hopefully before the first part of within the first week of August, no later than that, and kind of go over all of that again. And then at some point, the steering committee's responsibility should be, after getting that information and their heads around it, make some kind of recommendation to the city council, having heard all of that, whether that's to stay with the May ballot or go to a November ballot or what all to do. So,
Kurt, I think it's important for folks to understand that if there is this potential money coming out of the state, if it does start moving, it will actually have to go through the legislature and be approved in the legislative session. And it would come at the very end of the legislative session when they put up their bill for funding capital projects.
Yeah. And I expressed my concern at that time. When you look at all of the variables that are involved, I expressed my concern about whether May would be a doable thing for the bond measure. And I have great reservations about not wanting to do it, about not doing it in May, because I really want to see the library project go forward. We've drug our feet on it a lot. I know when we've had city council input about this, there have been comments to the effect that, well, I thought we were going to be farther along than we are. But this funding thing throws a little bit of a widget in it. And as I thought more about it, I will tell you that two things. One, as I mentioned at the steering committee meeting, I think because of COVID, it's going to be really difficult to do the kind of campaign that we maybe want to do for the bond measure. And also the fact that, if we get out of this thing, COVID-19 pandemic, maybe the earliest we're going to get out of it is the very first part of 2021. And people may not be in a good state of mind or financially in a good state. And so I don't know, what effect that would have on a ballot measure. I have some concerns. The second thing that I thought about that I didn't mention at that steering committee meeting, because we had the PacWest people there and I'm a chicken, is that although they're talking about there might be some money from the state, as I look at this and I look at the state's revenue and the difficulties that they're having, and where they're going with stuff, and knowing that they're not like the federal government. They can't print money or go into a deficit. They have to have a balanced budget. I'm maybe not as optimistic as our PAC West presentators were that that money's going to be available.
It would be bond money, Kurt.
Yeah, I'm still not as optimistic, but I could be totally wrong.
I'm not particularly optimistic either, but for me, it's more timeline based. That to me, I don't see any possibility that we're going to be done with the COVID crisis by the first part of 2021. That's not going to happen. It's going to be longer than that before the air clears and we see the pathway out of this. And so to me, the idea that we would do a bond measure next May is just ridiculous. That has to be off the table. And I'm even doubtful that doing the fall election, the November election in 2021, I'm doubtful that even that is a good ploy. So I'm just seeing that this crisis is going to affect our economy in a lot of different ways that we haven't seen yet. And I share your concern about the state having that kind of funding. But if they do revenue bonds, I think that it still is a possibility.
Okay. Good to know. Any questions at all about that from anybody or other comments?
Yeah, this is Rob. I agree with everything you guys said, but I also think one of the factors, if I'm remembering correctly, was that the final decision on the funds was probably going to come at a date after a date when we could pull back on the levy.
It would be June.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember too. I remember that if I remember right, sometime in March is actually the last time that we could maybe withdraw from that bond measure, and the final decision that the state would make wouldn't happen until June. And I think the PAC West people were saying that, if they got assurances from people, they could feel comfortable about it. But, and again, and I'm not saying anything disparaging about the PAC West people. They really are trying to help us out. But, they want to be involved in lobbying and doing something for us. So they're not going to say, hey, there's no chance in the world. They want to get in there and do that and probably be compensated for it. So
absolutely, it's business for them.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I take it with a grain of salt. And okay. So anyway, so that's what's going on at the steering committee. We're going to meet again. And then, like I said, my intent is for the steering committee to make some recommendation to the city council about where we're going. So Sammy and Christina be getting that duct tape and holding that building together.
We're trying. Luckily, it hasn't been a very rainy summer.
Yeah, I don't worry as much about it actually falling all the way in as I do about the roof and the water damage that we always suffer because of it. Hopefully it's never catastrophic. So, okay. Well, I don't know. Do we have enough people to do a board election? And some of the people, like our secretary is Alyssa, and she's not here. And I would feel bad about, saying, Alyssa, you're the secretary, and not getting her 2 cents worth. So my preference would be, I guess we put this off.
The table it?
I guess, if the city council can say James can continue to be on our board for a while, I guess we can put off elections for a month too. So, and let somebody
put it back in August.
Okay. All right. Anything else we need to talk about for the good of the order?
The only other thing is, since we do have 5, 4, 5, we have a quorum now. Do you want to go back and approve the minutes?
Sure, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Well, the minutes are approved then.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Kurt, I have one more comment. If
Sure,
you don't mind.
Rob, go ahead.
So I had a similar experience as you did at the dentist office when I was. When
You
I
had
got
you had a crown that was worn out too?
not that experience, fortunate. But I was talking to somebody about our steering committee meeting, and they were hesitant about whether a levy would pass, and they made the comment: do people really use the library anymore? And so I did my best to say, yeah, you should see the numbers. They're pretty busy. But I was just wondering if there was some kind of case statement or elevator speech that could be given out. Maybe this is more for the steering committee members that we could use when we talk to the public.
Actually, Bob had done quite a while ago for us a very nice, I'm going to call it case statement. I don't know if that's the right term or not, Bob.
Pretty close, yeah.
And brought a lot of those issues in and talking points again. And I think I've still got it around somewhere.
I do have it. I can update it if you like, and then you can send it out to everybody for approval.
I think that's a good idea. Again, because that isn't. I'm glad you brought that up, Rob, because it's important, and it's important that I think people are involved with the library when they're out in the community actually talk about it. And it's also nice if we provide them the numbers and facts and information, so we're all saying about the same thing, and it's actually the right thing. It's not misinformation. So I think that's good. So, Bob, if you'll do that for us, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, yeah, I'll get it out to you.
Yeah, great. Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, I guess the only other thing to do then is to figure out a meeting time for our next virtual meeting.
August 19th would be the regular time.
Okay. So let's plan on August the 19th then, and we'll have another meeting for our team.
There you go. Go team, go. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else real quick. If you like cooking, we're doing a once-a-month program with the co-op. They're providing the cook and the recipe, and we're facilitating that program, which has been kind of fun. I think the next one is Jackfruit Sliders. So if you want to go buy one of those giant jackfruits from Safeway. Although apparently there's canned jackfruit, which I didn't know. So we have that going on. We are starting a partnership with North Bend Medical Center and North Bend Library and ourselves for doing a kind of a talk with the docs kind of thing. So that's going to be in August. So we have some other fun stuff coming up.
That's going to be interesting. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Okay. Well, hey, I guess we're done then. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you again in a month. And Christina, I really like your hair.
Thank you. So kind of you to say.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Sammy, I don't know what happened with with my inability to get onto Microsoft Teams, but I guess I finally have decided that since I did get on my tablet, that's what I'm going to try to get on in the future.
Okay. I was going to say, you've had such good luck bore. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I did anything.